Hi there, it's Dave Sinclair. In today's video, I hope to give you a little bit of an experience between two different ways we often show up. One very typical way that I see people showing up with the different protective parts of them, trying to change them, trying to force them into a different way of being. And another way that brings empathy, compassion to ourselves in more of a gentle manner. And rather than talk about this, let's just jump in and really kind of get into this. So you quite often will hear me talk about these different parts of us. And these different parts we're quite often working with in coaching are defensive, protective parts, parts of us that typically jump into action when they're fearing or they feel that we might feel something that's uncomfortable. So parts of us have over our lives learned how to defend us against uncomfortable emotions, move us away from feeling pain or discomfort. Totally understandable. Who wants to feel discomfort? I sure as shit don't. Anyways, let's kind of jump into this a little bit. So getting a little further into this, there could be some different parts, maybe like a part of us that jumps up and starts criticizing us because maybe we haven't returned a text or an email fast enough. I sure know this happens inside of me. And that part might be worried about our friends being mad or maybe not even being there if we don't get back. So that part's really criticizing us. It's understandable. Okay. Maybe it's tactics we'd like to change, but it's understandable that it's kind of, wanting to make sure that we don't lose this friend. Another part might, I don't know, get defensive when somebody points something out in some of our work. Point something out, and maybe that part's really getting really worried that, I don't want to be seen as missing something or be seen as inadequate, not good enough, not doing good enough work. So that part gets really defensive, and that's how it's learned to kind of protect us, to kind of go on the offensive, ultimately to jump back at somebody and say, no, I've got this. So that part really can work hard too as well. Or another part that's really common in guys that I work with is a part that gets worried. A part that jumps into all the worries, the what ifs, the worst case scenarios. And ultimately, this part becomes really, really active. We can call this part anxiety, or parts that carry this kind of anxiety that really worry about what's going on. And this part, maybe it's trying to protect us from things actually going wrong. Understandable. And it notices that the more it worries, it actually has this sense that it can help out. Now, we quite often know that worry gets up in our mind and kind of spins and winds us even more up. But we can either try to force that part to stop working, or to change, or a little different way to do it. So let's just kind of start with that part here right now. Let's just work with that part that really kind of worries and gets into those different things. And just imagine that part right now. I'm going to run you through two different experiences. So just to start off, this is an invitation, an experiment. If you want to do that, let's just see what happens. Let's have some fun with it. Cool? Cool. So maybe just start off by taking a breath and just pretending now that this part that worries inside of here, okay, it's protecting us from feeling like things are really falling apart, that things aren't going well. And it really holds on to that feeling. It really protects us, creates a big shell around us. And I just invite you just to hold your fist up like this worrying part's protecting something, okay? Just hold it up there and feel that. And now just really try to change that. Try to force that part open. Bring as much energy towards it. You might even say, oh, come on, you got to change. You can't worry like this. Come on, that's just way too much. And you just feel what's happening there as you try to force this change. What's happening? What's happening as you try to force this change in your body, in your mind? What's happening in your stomach, your heart? Just really take a moment to just notice all this stuff. And you can just stop for a second and just notice, what's it like? How's your heart rate? How's your breath? I notice mine's really shallow and it's kind of, racing a little bit, almost like a little feeling of mini panic. I had to change that part. So just shake this off right now. Take a breath, do a little stretch. And then again, bring that fist back up here. No need to change that part, but just that's that worrying part. It's there. It exists. It's holding on to that job so tightly. It's so hard trying to protect us, working so hard trying to protect us. And now rather than trying to force it to change, just hold it. And just bring compassion to it. That core state of compassion that we really all have access to. And just notice it. Understand it. Support it. Maybe even ask it a question like, how are you today? I really see how hard you're working for me. That must be really tough for you. All this work, having effort so much for so long. What can I do to help you? And just notice what happens here. What's happening in your body? For me, I just notice my hand just naturally wants to relax a little bit. Not all the way, but just a little bit. You can just relax out of this and see what happens. And I'm just curious for you, those two different ways of being, the one where you're trying to just force it and get angry with that part of you that's worrying, or just supporting it and better understanding it. What did you notice? What was different for you in those two different ways of being? What do you take from this exercise in terms of these different parts that are working inside of you, whether it's that part that's worrying, that part that's maybe getting a little critical with you about phoning that friend back, or the part that gets a little defensive after some feedback? How might just holding those parts, being with them, how might that support you just a little bit more in your day-to-day life? Understanding them, being with them, and almost like bringing our core sense of presence to those parts and all the work they're doing. I hope you found this beneficial. Again, if you're looking for a little bit more on this, please reach out for a one-to-one to see how coaching might help you learn how to be with those different parts of you even more supportively, compassionately, and I would say powerfully in terms of how you are moving forward in your life right now. Have a great day. Bye-bye.